All right, guys, today is October 22nd. Here's a quick recap of the market on the NASDAQ 1 minute chart. We're trading the micros on this. We'll explain a little bit of this and why we use this box here for our data to tell us how many contracts to use, what our profit target is, and all that's set up in settings. And then it tells you what, where to put your stop loss and take profit. So that's what these lines are going to show here. So blue line is our entry, red is our stop loss, green is our take profit. Again, this is scalping the NQ, right? So we don't normally trade the first 15 minutes, and I'll explain why. Because as we're looking for our ATR targets. The problem is the ATR uses the last 10 or 14, whatever you set it at. I use 10, so it's using the last 10 of this. So this giving you a target, you can see how small that was, and there's your stop loss. So on a situation like this, your entry would have been here, your target would have been 28 ticks, and you can see the stop loss is roughly that same area. But the market, at that point, this first candle, if I remember right, it was in the hundreds, 150, 180, something like that. Down to the bottom there was 200. So you can see why we don't want to trade to open on a small target, right? Because the market's not settled yet enough to know where it's going to be at. And then look at this next trade here. Our entry would have been right roughly here, and then it's at 54 with roughly the same size stop loss there. So you can see these are a little bit different. I've got them set to different settings, so we lose a little bit less than we make, so we can obviously keep growing our accounts. If we have a loss, strategy hits about 70 to 75% accuracy, sometimes up to 80 to 85%, depending on the day. Today has been a good day. I'll show you that in just a minute. So anyway, entry, stop loss, and target. You can adjust these as needed, but I've kind of kept them where I'm at to hit these little moves and then wait for the next move to come up. So I'm going to turn on the little smiley faces I made here and get you guys a good idea of whether the trades were. Now again, we don't take this, but it did make money. It did come down and make money, but you would have been stopped out if you would have tried to play that small of a number there. But if you were just like, hey, I want to take the trade, I want to take a target, and you can push that down, it would have definitely made some money. But again, I don't trade this first 50 minutes. That's why it's grayed out. Okay, so the next one here, you can see it was a win. Next one, I did not take a trade. Now I want to explain why. And this one's kind of hard to see it, but in real time, it actually never really was down here. These are Heikin-Ashi candles, so it actually prints this in the middle of this candle here, and then it pushes it here. Price was here and then just kept going up. So I was not taking this sell signal, and that's something I wish I had a better example to show you on this, but it never really got there. So it just went up, and I said, nope, not taking a trade. Obviously, we're trending up, looking for maybe another wave up. Never really came, but you can see it. Now, here's one that I put a squiggly face here because profit just barely missed there. But if you look at the numbers, roughly enter there, you were about 49 ticks. This one came to about 42. So I usually move my stop up about halfway when it's about halfway, more to break even. So this one, I think just a few ticks is all I made on this one here because it did come back and then stop me out within the next minute or so. Had a sell signal up here, but this one did end up in a loss, which is why that face is there, okay? So kind of I don't want to say back-to-back losses, but if you're not watching your profits there, that obviously could have come down for a stop loss. So it's important to always watch the market, move the stop up to at least break even, so it's no risk on your trade there. All right, so the next one came here. This was at 8:10 my time, which is Mountain, so 10 Eastern. We entered the market here, came down the next minute and hit our target. Okay, a few minutes later, came through here. We had this sell signal. We entered, and a minute and a half, 2 minutes later, hit our target there. Okay, another one just a few minutes later came through. We had our entry here. Sorry, this was an up one, so we did not, looking at the wrong arrow. This one here, we did not take a trade. And this is what I was trying to explain before. You can kind of see it here. Market gave us a buy signal, but price never really broke above. Now, if you look at that, yeah, it's probably about one tick above, but look at the trend, right? We're not going to jump into that trade. This candle's red. There's no push up like right here or anything, so that's why we avoid those trades. If price does not cross above and give us a good push momentum up, if you're seeing this right here, you would have been taking that trade. But here, it was still pushing red. There was still a lot of selling pressure. So we do not take that trade. If price does not break this line by more than a few ticks, and you can actually adjust this to go, 3, 4, 5 ticks above where it closed at. So you can kind of give yourself a little room there. But we don't take that trade. And it's just something as you watch the market, you'll know, right? Now, what if I jumped in this trade if it would have ticked up a few more, like up into this area? Yeah, probably. But it did not, so we didn't take it. Now, the next candle later, get our signal to enter. Next minute later, we hit our target. So these are, like I said, these are now adjusting with the market. So we're at 57. A few minutes ago, this one was sitting at 450. So you can see as these markets moving, these numbers are adjusting, and where contracts can adjust because we pick the price of what we want to make off of a trade. Okay. So next one down here, further down, this one So this one I put this smiley face, squiggly face here because the price came in and price actually came up, came down, and then went back up. And the reason I put a squiggly is because you could have made some money here. And anytime, this is a pivot point, okay, in the market. So anytime you have these lines or even this blue line here, this blue line here, if you've got a target like there, you probably want to just aim for whatever the closest target is down here, right? You don't want to be shooting all the way down because look at what it did. It did stop right down there. So this one you could have made some money, and I was done trading by this time of the day anyway. But you can see there that it did come down, did obviously stop out later, but it did come down and test that pivot line. So I knew, and I know when I trade these pivot lines, that's my target, right? I'm not trying to bust through to hit that little, 10 or 12 ticks more, whatever it would be. When it's sitting down here, I know it's going to give us a run, and that's going to be my target, okay? So it's important to use support resistance, pivot lines, things like that, okay? All right, here, this is current market we're getting into, okay? So here is our entry, would have been right here. Price did go up a couple minutes and hit us in our target. So that's the smiley face. Okay, so this one is a miss. Let's just put that here. This is live market. So we took a loss on this one, or what have if you would have traded it. And you can see, right? Price came up, ticked above, good trend up, was looking good, and then obviously just a couple minutes, stopped us now. It looks like we're, creating a downtrend. We get a sell signal down here. We'll take the profits down here for that. So one thing you'll see when you're trading this is you might see a little pink or blue circle on either side of the candle, whichever direction it's going, and that is basically telling you get ready for a trade. It doesn't mean it's going to happen. Don't take if it's red, don't take a sell. Wait until the triangles are there. But that kind of gives us an idea of getting ready for a signal, okay? All right, so let's talk more about the stop loss, take profit, contracts, things like that. So let's go into settings. And you can see here, now I've got it set for a stop loss of 100 or a take profit of 100. So these are the same, basically, is what it is. And that's why these are adjusted here. This is where the 6 and the 7, that's where these numbers change. So 59 is our target, 50 is our stop loss. So if I change this to 7, you'll see this number now will go to 59. Gives it just a second. There we go, okay? So, but I usually like to keep it a little less, sometimes I'm trading at 5 depending on what the market's giving us. Sometimes that can be too tight if the market's not moving. Now today was a good day, the market's been moving. Yesterday at this time, these were in the 20s, okay? So the moves were over and it just sat there. So it would not be a good time to have a lower stop loss because you're not really giving the NASDAQ enough room to breathe, okay? But let's change this number here. Let's say, hey, I'd like to trade 250. I'd like to make a profit of $250 per trade. Now watch the contracts. It's at 3 now. And now it jumps to 8. Okay, 8 micros. So what it's doing now is it's saying, hey, roughly 236. Okay, well that seems a little low. So I would actually come down here and we'd put 9 if we really want to hit that 250. And then you look here. Well, this is screwing up here. Let's just go 60 because these were roughly 59, right? And so then you can see there's our risk 225 on the loss. So that would be our loss of 225. And our profit target, which is not showing right down here, there it is, 225 is your reward. So if we would go, our stop loss would actually be 56. And that should, move right here to 252 right there. So anyway, you guys can see this adjusts every time you put something in here. Okay, so if we went to $75 and say, I just want to trade $75 because we are scalping, I'm going to take a lot of trades during the day. I don't want to risk a lot of money, but I want to still be able to make it. Now we're at roughly 57 on 2, so you definitely go to 3 contracts on that. And you can see this will now adjust our target for $75 of risk, 84 is our profit, and we need to trade 2 contracts basically, 2 to 3, depending on what you want to put there. So, market's moved down. We've not got another signal. What is it going to do? Most likely it's going to come probably retest this here in a little bit. It might work its way down. There it looks like we're hitting this level of support in this area right here where it's having a hard time breaking down. So it could come down, it could not, but anyway, we don't really care which way the market's going. We wait for our signals and then we take the trade. So anyway, there's a lot more in the settings here. I'm not going to go over too much. You can adjust how much you want to move these lines here by changing these numbers. If you put a large number here, these would extend your stop loss and take profits out here, okay? You can also just do a fixed target of 25 or 40 stop loss, take profits, whatever. This data box you can move, which is this box here, you can move to the bottom if you'd rather have it down here. If you'd rather have bigger text, you can change it here to go normal, which can get a little too big if you're just on one screen. If you've got a big screen, this is just on my laptop, so it can get a little big there. Let's just shrink it down to tiny. You can see how small it can actually get. So, all right, then you can use the market filter. So this is actually important here. So let's just put in here Well, the market's too high right now. I don't know if it'll even work with 100. So this might turn red. Let's see. There we go. Okay, so this is if the market, whatever number you put here, normally it's 12 to 20s. Basically anything under 20 I'm not touching, or anything right around 20 I'm not touching. Okay, but this gives you a good data. Now it says signals disabled. So if this was in the 12s or 15s or 20s, this would show up. So now you're not going to get any signals to show up because you're over your threshold, or you're under your threshold. Okay, let's just put that back to 20, and you'll see it'll go back to blue, and it'll put our contract size here for it. So that's just a good way for you to kind of stay out of the market when the market's not running well. So okay, and then we got trading hours. If you want to pick specific trading hours to use, your entry lines, your targets, all adjustable. These little white dots are the real price. That's where price closed on that candle. No trading hours. I have certain hours I don't want to touch the market, so they turn the candles gray. You kind of see all this support and resistance. These are the blue lines, orange lines built in. Exit signs, or exit signals. Let me show you that real quick. So this is actually when the market is a little overbought or oversold. You can see what happens is it just tells us, hey, you know what, looks like it might be a good time to get out, and look what happened, right? Market retrace. Now it doesn't mean it's not going to come back down, and it doesn't mean the market's completely done selling, right? Here was one, gave a retrace and came back down. It's just a good idea. Hey, if I get a signal to sell here and I got to exit, maybe I want to wait, because look what might happen. Could get stopped out, okay? And there was one on that candle there too, right? First one down, boom, had an exit signal. Well, maybe you wouldn't want to take that trade because you did eventually come back down, but just kind of like an RSI, it's market flow index. It's not RSI, but it's very similar to overbought and oversold. So anyway, it's a robust system, guys. If you want to trade this, like I said, you can look at this here. We're roughly probably about 75 to 80% accuracy today on our trades, with 2 full losses, one maybe a loss, and maybe another loss here. So, but you can see all the wins here. Again, we're not trying to take every signal. There's no point in doing that. The longer you're in the market, the more risk you're putting out there. Make your money and get out. So, but if you're looking for a good system that's 75 to 80% accuracy as you're watching the market, this is a good one to trade. Even on our worst days, we're probably about 60%, which is still profitable as long as you're following the signals and only getting in trades that are going to be profitable. You're following the trends, watching your support and resistance, watching the market, kind of analyzing your own trades. Just don't blindly take trades, and you'll be good. You'll be successful and stay disciplined. So, guys, go check out the website in the description, and you should be able to get the indicator $10 per month. Thanks.